Hi everyone, my name is Jamin, and I wanted to make a brief video that explains what the difference between all of the shingles are. This is probably the most common question that we get is people will get an estimate from us and then they respond back is what's the difference between them. So I wanted to try and quickly cover the basics between all of these different shingle grades and discuss what the benefits are to them, what are the pros and the cons, which ones may be best for you, and then also how we try and go the extra mile in helping you choose the perfect shingle for your house and for your budget. So let's get into it. So the first shingle that we'll notice here is the landmark option. That's here on the left-hand side. This is your basic shingle. It's what most people think of when they think of an asphalt shingle. It's also the most common shingle. So if you were to leave your house and walk down your street, you're probably going to see this product installed on the vast majority of homes. The lifespan for this, while it's not exact, we typically see somewhere around 25 years, 23 to 25 years out of a product like this. This is your basic option, and I want to dispel the myth or the concept that because this is the cheapest option, that means that this is not a quality product. This is an excellent product, and it's something that I would put on my own house. Now, the next option is the Landmark Pro option. This shingle is slightly thicker than the first option. So every time that the price goes up, there is typically, the difference is that the product is starting to get thicker. Now, with the Landmark Pro, I would say that the biggest upgrade or difference is that when they're making this shingle, that they add more color to it. And so there are more highs and lows. I would kind of think of it as there's more of a checkered pattern. And this looks excellent on some houses, but it doesn't always flow or go perfectly with every house. So this is slightly subjective. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and so you have to figure out, well, do I want that look of more dimension on my house? Now, the next one, actually, this is a picture that I took when touring the Fremont facility. These shingles are actually made here locally in Fremont. But here on the left-hand side is your Landmark shingle. And then on the right-hand side is the Landmark TL option, which is typically the third one that we will give for you. The TL stands for triple laminate. And so you can see that the TL is a much thicker product. That's what's on the right. It's a much thicker product than what is on the left. And so a lot of people prefer the look of a thicker shingle. And so that's kind of just a visual representation of what you can expect as far as a thickness comparison. So for the Landmark TL, which we just saw in that last photo, the design of that shingle is very similar to the Landmark and the Landmark Pro. The only difference is it has that third layer, so it's a lot thicker. The performance is virtually the same. I don't think that these shingles are necessarily going to last that much longer. I think that when it comes down to it, if I decided to put a Landmark TL shingle on my house, it's because I like the way that it makes my house look, not necessarily that I think that it's going to last longer than the Landmark or the Landmark Pro. Now, moving on to the Presidential, there is a big difference between the Presidential and the Presidential TL options. Those shingles look quite a bit different from the Landmark options. And let me show you the next photo. So again, this is a picture taken at the Fremont plant. You can see that the design of this shingle is quite a bit different. It's much more intricate. It adds more dimension to the house. And so this shingle is definitely going to draw your eye towards the roof. So when you pull up to your house, the roof is going to kind of visually pop to the foreground with this shingle, more so than just a dimensional shingle will. So on the left-hand side, there is, again, the presidential TL, that stands for triple laminate. That shingle is the thickest option that we're providing you with. And then on the right-hand side, you have, it's a presidential shingle, but it doesn't have that third layer. So it's the same cut, the same design, but it's just not as thick. Now, color options to consider. This is a factor for some folks because what you'll notice here on this graph on the right-hand side is that the landmark, there are 10 colors to choose from. So you have the most color available to you in that option. Now the Landmark Pro, you have 6 colors to choose from. With the Landmark TL, you have only 3 colors to choose from. And then for the presidential options, you have 4 colors to choose from. So take this into consideration that there is more color options with a basic shingle, simply because it's so common and it's what most people end up going with. So the other question that we frequently get is, what about a dark shingle versus a light shingle? It is true that a black roof will make the home slightly warmer. It's hard to quantify exactly how much warmer it will make it because every home is different. There's a bunch of different factors or circumstances. But a black roof compared to a white roof, that black roof is going to keep that attic warmer. I am personally of the mindset that you pick the shingle that you love the way that it makes the house look. I have a black shingle on my roof, and I don't regret that decision. So, but everyone has different motivations, and you have to decide for yourself what's best for your home and what's going to make you happiest personally. Now, this is an important topic, the elephant in the room. What I frequently see is that there are manufacturers and there are companies that will make promises that are just simply not realistic. The first line here is that there's kind of a myth that expensive and thicker shingles will last a really long time. Some people will say, well, those thicker shingles will last 50 years, and that's just simply not true. Those products have actually been out in the real world for a couple decades, and we're understanding just how long they're lasting, and they are not lasting they're not even close to 50 years. And what we're kind of seeing is that even your basic shingle versus a expensive shingle, that the lifespan, the point at which we're replacing these shingles is actually pretty close. So don't let a manufacturer convince you of unrealistic things, or a salesperson to overpromise something that just simply isn't true. If you decide that you want to go with a more expensive shingle, then the motivation should be that it makes your home look beautiful and it makes you happy. When you pull up to your house, the roof is actually a very large part of what we call visual real estate. So it usually makes up about 1/3 of what you see on the outside. And so you want to pick a shingle that will make your home look the way that you want it to look. But again, please don't let anyone tell you that an expensive shingle is going to last 50 years. Even an expensive shingle like a presidential TL, you might get 30 years out of it. So there's really just not a very big difference in lifespan across all of the different options. So please take that into consideration. So the Landmark shingle, let me move my window here. The Landmark shingle is the most cost effective. It lasts a long time. I would expect that you probably get somewhere around 25 years out of it. It looks great on a modern house where you don't want the roof to stand out, to pop. This shingle, it has the least dimension. It's kind of almost like more one solid color, and that actually can complement some houses. The Landmark Pro, again, it's cost effective. it lasts a long time. It might last a little bit longer than the first option. This shingle is slightly thicker, and I mean slightly thicker, but you have more color in the shingles, and so a lot of people like that look, where you have more of a checkered pattern. It adds more dimension, more 3D dimension to the roof instead of just one solid color. The Landmark TL is essentially the same, but it's just a much thicker version of the first two options. And the presidential. So a lot of this comes down to preference. What do you think looks good? A lot of HOAs will prefer or even require the presidential shingle. It's a thicker shingle, so it adds more depth, more dimension. It lasts a long time. I would say, a couple more years as opposed to a couple years longer than the first couple of options. The biggest difference, or I think the only difference in performance that I can recommend that the presidential has, is that it does stand up under high winds. So it's going to perform better when there's a really bad windstorm. The presidential shingle is going to stand up to those circumstances better. So we have some customers that are they're very concerned about the weather in the Bay Area, and they feel like they want something that is going to give them the best wind protection. And then in that case, then I would say presidential definitely has the advantage in that category. So the presidential TL, all the same things, but it is the thickest version. It has a triple laminate, so it has that third layer to it, and again, it handles wind really well. The other thing is that I tell people to, this is a big decision. So I would take the time to walk around your neighborhood, start looking at roofs, and see what you like, what you don't like, and what you feel is going to make your house look really great. And then here is the last topic, is how we can help you choose. Because I think that we really try and go the extra mile, and we do a great job in supporting our customers to try and pick the perfect shingle. So here are the things that we can do to try and help you. One, we obviously have manufacturers' brochures. We can provide you with physical samples of the shingles. You have access to a showroom where you can actually see the shingles. There's the manufacturer's website. And then the fifth thing that is typically most helpful for customers is that once you've narrowed your options down to a couple of different choices, is that we will give you addresses of homes that we personally put those roofs on that have that color and that grade on them. So we'll give you a bunch of addresses, and then you can drive by that house and you can look at that roof. And then you get to see, well, what does this shingle look like on a finished house? And I kind of liken it to when we go and pick a house color. They only give us this little swatch, and it's very difficult to know, well, what is this color going to look like when I paint the entire outside or the entire inside of my house. So with giving you addresses of homes that we've done, you get to see what this shingle looks like on a really big section. That way you know exactly what your house is going to look like. So hopefully this was helpful for you and that I didn't ramble on for too long. If there are additional questions that you have, please reach out to us. We're here to help you guys. But I at least wanted to try and cover the basics so that you understand what the differences are and then how we try and help you to choose a shingle that you're going to love for years to come. Thanks.